about that.
4 o'clock in the morning in the month of December 1989, I had an angel come to me and immediately said, my spirit left my body and we went up through the heavens. One thing I should add, Sid, is that there were a number of other souls who had departed from their bodies, but their destination was obviously not heaven. But the angel took me into heaven.
Just out of curiosity, how did you know their destination wasn't heaven?
There was a portal, an opening, a tunnel that they went into. And when you're out of your body, all your senses are, how should I say this? You have the ability to see further, hear more, feel more, and I could see that they were going to the lake of fire.
Could you see their reactions?
No, because I could see their departure into the tunnel toward the lake of fire.
Okay, so in the meantime, you're going up, they're going into the tunnel.
Yes.
What's happening to you?
The angel and I are speeding through the heavens very, very quickly, and so fast that I really couldn't see the planets or the stars. And then we landed in heaven. I do want to say this to people because I think this is very, very important. People need to really give themselves the Messiah Jesus and go to heaven. And here's the first reason why. There's such joy there. The Apostle Peter said, it is joy unspeakable and full of glory. My experience, I would say it this way. It's joy indescribable and full of glory. And the minute I landed in heaven, Sid, this joy exploded on the inside of me. Yes, there's joy. If I could say this, the Lord is full of joy himself, okay? And the people are full of joy. But this joy exploded on the inside of me, and it was completely overwhelming. And so when the Hebrew writer says, the joy of the Lord is your strength, it's really true. I mean, there's life in heaven. And so this joy is what people are looking for on the earth. And the key to this joy is giving yourself to the Messiah Jesus and developing a relationship with him. So that's the first thing I want to say to people. The next thing I want to say to people is I was taken to the heavenly tabernacle, the heavenly temple. And there was a door that was, and the only way I know how to describe this, Sid, is to say it was open and closed at the same time, but it was only open by appointment only. And the angel stood before me, and he walked through the door, and I just knew I'm supposed to follow this angel. When I follow this angel into this heavenly tabernacle, this heavenly temple, I'm in a courtroom. And there is God Almighty, sitting in the seat of the judge, the throne of God. And I could not see God Almighty clearly. I saw this brilliant white light, this being of light, and this glory cloud that surrounded him. And I knew that I was in the presence of God Almighty. The next thing I did, Sid, is I looked to my right because I just felt. It's an interesting thing about when you're in heaven, sometimes you just know things. You just know what you're supposed to do. And I looked to my right, and there I saw the Messiah Jesus as my heavenly attorney, as my heavenly representative, as my great high priest, and as my intercessor. And Jesus is the loveliest person I've ever seen. And
so you were like in a heavenly courtroom.
A heavenly courtroom.
And you were given insight into what we're going to be judged on here on earth.
What God said to me was this. He said, take notes and learn. He said, now the time has come for judgment to begin at the house of God. And instantly I understood that what God meant was that he was measuring people. Now, it's very important for me to say this, Sid. God was not mad. God was not upset. God was not angry. God, his heart was full of love, But yet I had this incredible sense of his absolute holiness and righteousness, and he wanted me to understand his standard, as it were, of judgment. And it had to do with love. And that's what began to change on the inside of me. And so this love really was vertical and it was horizontal. When I say vertical, I mean how we worship God through the Messiah Jesus, and it's horizontal in terms of our relationships. And so the Messiah Jesus said this: you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And in the very same way I've loved you, the very same way I've loved you, love each other. And so what the Father stressed to me is he was very concerned about people, about his sons and daughters, that we got our worship right and our relationships right.
Now, when